My name is Lynne D Johnson. I'm from Fastcompany.com, and I'm here with Lena West from xynoMedias, and we are here at South by Southwest 2008, and we just finished doing a panel called Where Are the Black Tech Bloggers? So Lena, a lot went down in that panel, a lot.
Yes,
a lot.
I encourage everyone to listen to that podcast.
Oh, really? Tell us a little bit about, I'll speak to it too, but
Right.
if you, from your perspective, what do you really feel that the gist of that panel was?
I think the gist of the panel, in speaking to you prior to us even being on the panel, was for us to kind of create this platform for, here are the Black tech bloggers. We are actually working in new media. We are bloggers, and now you see us, and this is what we do, and this is how race intersects with what we do every single day as bloggers.
Right, right. Do you think we accomplished that we got that message out?
I think we did that and then some.
Okay. Give me a little of the and then some. That's what everyone wants to know, I'm sure.
Again, we talked about the intersection of race and blogging and that sort of a thing, but we also got to a lot of racial issues just in America in general. Mm-hmm. And I think those dialogues are really important, especially at a conference like this.
Right, right. I feel like still, I've come to South by Southwest since 2005, I think, and I moderated 2 panels before, blogging while Black.
Right.
And last year we didn't do anything like that. First 2 years I came, we did. Felt like we didn't need this kind of anymore, right? Like really, come on, do you see Black people? Come on, you know Black people, don't you by now?
Right.
But then, as some people saw in that panel down there was someone who made this video, Tech Nigga, and it was a white guy, and I don't have a problem with white guys, making fun of Black folks. I don't have a problem with that at all. It was bad.
Right.
It was just really bad. He
Right.
did bad blackface, and I didn't want to give all that attention to him.
Right.
I wanted to give it more to us.
Right.
But he happened to be there.
Right.
And you and he kind of tit a tat right there.
Right.
How did that make you feel?
Well, I think it was interesting that he showed up, and I think a lot of people are saying, oh, I give him credit for even showing up. And I think that was his whole intent. His whole intent was to get light and get some airtime, which is, I think, one of the things that he mentioned was, I'm a comedian and I do this for PR or whatever his reasoning was. And my thing is, yeah, you do that, but you don't do that stepping on other people. Like, that's the line that you cross there. Right. And we kind of went at it, and I was displeased with his video. But I don't give him any credit for showing up. So
right. Because and it's funny because then he said about someone else who was Black. Well, yeah, he has to show up. He's Black.
Right.
And I was like, what does that mean?
And then he left.
Right.
It's like you kind of.
He left. He didn't give anyone an opportunity to talk with him.
Thing.
Right. So that's fine. We're done with him.
Yeah.
We're done with him. We're on to us.
Right.
Tell us about some of the things that you're doing in your work in social media.
Well. Traditionally, we work with B2B, so we'll help businesses to build new media applications. So you see online communities, we build those online communities. You'll see a really hot blog, we build those blogs. And right now, one of the reasons that I'm glad you invited me to speak here is because of the film component to South by. And we're looking at using kind of pairing new media with film and with television from a marketing perspective. So I get to meet some cool film people while I'm here too.
Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of, film is a very, very interesting.
Oh yeah.
I mean, how do you see now that you're going to go to like a next level with your business now that you're getting more into the film stuff? Do you?
I think for quite some time we've really been searching for a target market that really suits us. Mm-hmm. Right now, and historically, we've worked with, as long as it was a B2B, we were fine.
Right.
We didn't do B2C stuff, and now kind of film is that B2C
YouTube
flavor.
And all of these things have proven that.
Exactly.
Right.
So. I'm hoping that this will be a step in the right direction, and I've gotten some confirmation of that while I've been here and prior to some legwork that I've been doing prior to South by. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what happens. I'm positive.
Right. You don't feel like we have enough entertainment stuff out there, enough entertainment, social media? Do you see what you're going to do is more social media stuff, or it's just helping people to have entertainment platforms and their own web spaces? What do you see?
I think that the film industry is really ripe for opportunity as relates to new media. they could be using new media in so many different ways, and so that's where I think we fit in. Not really providing entertainment like making online games or anything like that, but really looking at, studio and indies and saying, listen, you have a fan base online, you have people that are interested. If you're doing a documentary, you have people that are already interested in this topic already. Why not cultivate that fan base online and do something with it to help your film, to help your project?
Right. It's funny. It's interesting. I was talking to possible consulting project. I was talking to an entertainment person the other day, entertainment mogul, and we were talking about like how he was talking about how does he build fans. Like he has artists who have all these fans, but then how does he bring them all to one place? How does he? Because he knows they're going to these different fan sites. They're going to YouTube. They're going to MySpace. But he wants to create one space where all of these folks can come. Do you think that kind of thing is possible? Do you think destination sites still can work? Or do we have to enable people to go various places? Do we have to give them the jump off to get to the different places?
I don't think it's an either or proposition. I think that there's something to be said for someone like Beyonce, who has her own site, and she's got her own clips and video clips, but there's also a site that comes up in the search engine rankings that's a fan site that's really well done, that has loads of comments and loads of user participation. So I don't think it's an either or proposition.
But you don't really think the record label should bring maybe some of that fandom up under their wing?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. It's not either the record company does it or the fans do it. It's
Right.
the record companies need to understand, and film and studio companies need to understand that these communities exist online already. So let's facilitate that conversation. Let's be a part of that conversation, as opposed to just ignoring it,
Right.
which is what we're doing right now. But we're going to change that.
No, I think publishing and the music industry has a lot to learn, and with what's going on with new media. You've seen what my company has done online with
Right.
trying to engage community.
Right.
But also back to our panel a bit.
Right.
What do you think about the place for African Americans in this whole field? Do you think there are a lot of opportunities for us to grow in this field, given that so much of the media that's out there relates to our music artists, our films and whatever? Isn't there a lot of places for us to go and grow? Like the one guy who got up and said he works for Disney and they couldn't find a person of color to fill a CTO role.
Right.
What do you think we have to do to address that?
I think there definitely needs to be, more dialogue like this, because clearly, please everybody listen to the podcast of Where Are the Black Tech Bloggers, because, and not shameless plug either, but really that wasn't enough time to have that dialogue.
It wasn't.
The subject matter is so profound that just really wasn't enough time. But I think that what we have to do is have the dialogue, be willing to show up and have the dialogue, and not be embarrassed and not worry so much about being politically correct, but get stuff out, do this whole kind of purging thing and see where we are. But as I said on the panel, is it do I believe that happened? Absolutely.
Right.
Is it a shame? Absolutely.
Right.
So the fact that this company was willing to kind of hold out, for quote unquote diversity is a good sign. But I also think that we need to, network and just let people know and that sort of thing, and do everything that we can.
Right.
To get the word out about job openings or opportunities. And someone in the audience mentioned, you have to be willing to just say, you know what, I may not know everything this job requires, but I'm gonna go for it.
Right.
And then I added to that, I'm gonna go for it, but I'm also gonna know that if I fall down on the job, some of my people will be there to help me shore up my resources, or someone in my network is gonna help me pick up the pieces if I happen to make a mistake or misstep.
Right. One thing I didn't get to say in the panel that I've thought about for some time, though, a thing that ends up happening to a lot of African Americans and Latinos or whatever, is that it's like they get the urban job.
The diversity dollars.
Yeah. Or it's just like, you work at the urban company.
Right.
Is it that, because someone brought that up, is it that we wouldn't want to work at Disney or Time Warner, or is it that we feel more comfortable at the urban gig? You have your own company.
Yeah.
I don't work at the urban gig.
Right.
But do you think we can even answer what happens with in some of those cases?
I mean, I think it's an individual thing too. I personally could never. I'm a poor employee.
Right.
I could never work for anybody else. But I think that if you get those kind of diversity dollars and you want to go for the urban job and you feel that that's what suits you, great. But don't have the blinders on. Know who you are, and that's totally fine, and that's totally okay to know who you are and know where you want to work. But if an opportunity comes up at Fast Company, at Inc. magazine, you want to make sure that that's on my radar. I'm not dissing it just because it's not urban.
Right.
You consider all things in the scope of who you are as a person.
Right. And I think that's what happens too. I think some of our panel addressed that too. Some people just feeling like maybe they're not qualified to do X, Y, Z.
Right.
Where do we get to that point? I think you talked about something about other folks who weren't of color having 300 years more than we did of experience, of networking, of. When do we get to a point that we feel comfortable to say, like, I'm here, listen to me, this is I'm a qualified candidate, or I'm a qualified person, or should we even care?
You're right. I did make that comment, and it's absolutely true. I think because technology is seen as this, level the playing field, and you can compete with the big guys, and there is no such thing as color, we forget that we don't have a 300-year head start. As people of color, we have a 300-year, we're behind 300 years in terms of business development, in terms of political development. So we kind of have to remember those things, that even because technology is great and it's fabulous, and I'm a tech evangelist and all of that, but I also have to remember too that this is within the big confine of America and what America stands for and what America has traditionally upheld for all these years. So I think it's important to, go for the gusto, know you can do the job, that sort of thing, and have those sort of viewpoints, but also recognize that it's a long time coming and we have work to do.
Definitely. I mean, I think one thing that was cool about us doing the panel where the Black Tech Bloggers was that there were a lot of younger folks than us who came out and wanted to see folks like us who were representing in this technology industry, so that they could say, hey, I could do that too. I really can. I think that's a great inspiration. And I think a bunch of us have talked about at some point starting some kind of organization. And I think maybe there needs to be some kind of organization so that we could mentor younger folks coming up in technology, or like you said, because often you go to your parents. I mean, when I started college, I started studying computers, and back then in the 80s, my mother was like, what? Right? And then I switched up to journalism.
Right.
And it was no, like they were saying, people of color tend to do business or whatever. Whatever's going to be the sure shot money.
Right.
This thing is a little risky and tricky.
Sure.
How do we change the mindset? Is it just by doing what we did, going up there and having the dialogue?
Right.
Is it putting ourselves out there publicly to change the mindset within, our culture, so to speak?
I think it requires time. You and I will probably not be as hard on our kids about technology and different ideas as our parents were on us. I mean, when I decided to do this technology thing, I was in a pre-law program at University of Virginia, and my parents had an absolute fit when I decided to do and work in technology. And at that point, I didn't really know. All I knew is that technology was the next thing, and I just was inherently good at it. I got it. I could understand it. And one of the things that I didn't get to mention on the panel is that starts with having a strategy.
Right.
Like you're saying, how do we figure out whether we're good enough for this job or whether we can do this job or not? It has to do with, where are you going in your career? Where do you want to be? And being really clear about that, so when the opportunity presents itself, whether it's mainstream media, whether it's urban, doesn't matter. What matters is this my boat? Is this the boat that I need to be on? Is this the SS Lena, or is this the SS Kim, or whose boat is this that's showing up? And do I need to get on this boat, or do I need to let this boat pass?
Right. I mean, but I think Tiffany brought up Tiffany Brown, who was on the panel. She brought up a good point, saying that a lot of us on the panel and then you addressed that point as well. There are a lot of people on there first time in their family anyone ever went to college.
Absolutely.
A lot of people in the so it's like a privileged group. We're a privileged group, so other people look at us
Right.
and they see what we're doing as far off.
Yep.
And you say you dropped out of that law program. You went and started technology,
Right.
and you had enough belief in yourself and faith
Right.
in yourself. But not every kid from
Right. Right.
is gonna feel like,
Right.
yo, I could do that.
I think, like I said on the panel, it has to do with having the courage to really speak to who you are. Probably if you had caught me 5 years ago, I may not have been as forthright with, but it's taken time for me to be comfortable with not being a college graduate, but I'm good with where I am,
Right.
So I think that it takes a certain amount of courage for you to just own your stuff.
Right.
Not all of our stuff is pretty. Not all of our stuff is made for, Web 2.0.
Right.
But I also think that a lot of it, you just have to own it and be willing to share it so that people that do see you never know who you're inspiring. So when people do see you, they say, you know what, she's done this in spite of.
Right. No, I think that's great. I got really excited. I kind of got goosebumps coming out of that panel.
Yeah, it
I
was
mean,
good.
saying that I've done, the Blogging While Black panel in the past, there was something still just a little different about this one. Because there we did just talk about, cultural issues and race. But here we not only talked about race and cultural issues, we talked about technology.
And business.
Quite a bit, in business a
Yep.
lot, and because they were, you own your own business, Tiffany does her own business on the side.
Right.
Everyone up there has worked in business in some kind of capacity.
Right.
I think it's great. Regardless of all, there was some negative stuff that came out of the panel. But then there were some interesting points, like someone who had a very different viewpoint, Ronald Lewis
Right.
from 24/7 with Ronald Lewis, who feels that we're at a point in culture where we should stop thinking about race because race is a social construct. And I know you and I had some discussions about
Yeah.
that. Like, how do you feel about, Ron's views overall? Do you think we're at a place where we could forget about race?
I think when someone says forget about race, that just brings up a whole set of stuff for me because I'm saying I am who I am. Every morning I wake up, a black woman. And I can't not wake up every morning as a black woman. Like, I don't have the
Right.
leisure of not doing that.
Right.
So when you say forget about race, it's almost like forget about a part of who I am.
Right.
So in one sense, I totally understand what he means by that. But in the other sense, I think what would help me digest what he says a little bit better is if he were to say, let's not place so much of an emphasis. Let's learn our history. Let's know how that impacts us in business and what we do every day. So forget, I think, is too strong for me. But I also think, as I've said time and time again, race has always been an issue. And because of how America is structured, it always will be an issue.
Right.
So we can't forget about that because it's in our day-to-day.
Right.
It's who you are. I mean, when you don't, I was saying when I don't get an assignment, my first thought is it because I'm black?
Right.
So forget. Strong,
Right.
but I get what he's saying, and I respect that.
Because he feels it's a social construct, and that's been an argument for forever. Is it biology? Is it social construct?
Right.
I think there was a gentleman in the audience. He said he owns his own ad agency, and he felt like this generation coming up now was more, beyond race. They were more. I don't know if you call it.
Right.
Post-race, the post-race
Post-race.
generation, right?
Right.
But he felt that the 12 to 34 sweet spot that,
Right.
is marketing sweet spot demographic, he felt that, this is skateboard culture and hip-hop culture. And,
Right.
but no, we don't just listen to hip-hop. They listen to some rock, gym
Right.
class heroes, whatever it is,
Right.
in there. But they're all mixed and fused together. So there's this diffusion and fusion all
Right.
together at the same time. How do you feel about that? You do a lot of work in business.
Right.
Do you see that in that 12 to 34 market that these kids are just getting along to get along, as my grandmother might say?
And I know we have to wrap. I'm going to say this in closing. I have nephews. I have an 17-year-old nephew and a 21-year-old nephew, and he might be 22 now. But I always tell them, don't make race your issue. Don't you pick up that bag. You're always going to be a black man. So as long as you keep that in your mind and then keep on doing whatever it is you want to do, you're good.
Right.
So you can skateboard with the best of them and you can gym class heroes till the cows come home, but remember where you come from.
Right. All right. Well, that is Lynne D Johnson and Lena West signing off at South by Southwest.
Thank you.